Hi, my name's JC Faxas, and you're listening to MI's Most Interesting People. Today on the show, we have Mr. Dean Standing. So, Dean, let's start. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Where were you born? You know, where do you hang your hat? That kind of thing.
Okay, well, I was born in Utah, and my family moved to the Seattle area when I was about 6 years old. Grew up there. All my early career was there. I worked in a hi-fi shop, then I worked as a manufacturer's rep, and then I started working for manufacturers. So I worked for Carver during the heyday of the hi-fi years, and got involved with the pro audio part of the Carver line, and went from there to Rane. I spent almost 25 years working for Rane, and I'm currently working for Atlas IED, which is a commercial audio manufacturer. But
Okay.
the MI part of my career would definitely be the Rane years.
All right. So I guess let's talk about Rane. This was around the Mojo time when Mojo came out.
Yep. Yeah, our lower cost series Mojo was a simplified feature set. Same quality as the rest of the products, but simplified features.
Let's see. With Rane, you guys were in the beginning of the whole Serato movement.
We were their first hardware partner. Rane had been building DJ mixers going back to the disco era. Richard Long, who was a famed club designer in New York, liked our club mixers and put those in a lot of the big clubs he designed. So we had those mixers out. And then we got involved in the hip hop market in kind of a roundabout way. We had a number of DJs come to us at an AES convention in New York and say, hey, we like your mixers. You build great quality. They sound great, but you don't make the style mixer we need. And so we started out with some napkin drawings, and we sent one of our engineers to go meet with them in Spanish Harlem, and which is an interesting story in and of itself, because here this typical engineer gets into a cab and gives the cab driver an address in Spanish Harlem, and the cab driver says, I don't want to go to that neighborhood. I don't think you really want to go there either. And so he insisted and said, yes, this is where I need to go. Knocks on the door of the address he had, and the guys look him over and said, I don't think you're in the right spot. And he said, no, I am, and explained who he was, and they let him in, and that started our collaboration on our first mixers designed for the hip hop scratch market. And so by the time Serato came on the scene, they were at a NAMM show, we were at a NAMM show, and they were selling their software, and a number of DJs that they talked to all said, hey, if you really want this to take off, you got to partner with Rane. And so the DJ community connected Rane and Serato together, and that's how that got started.
You were pretty involved in the hip hop scene, right?
Yeah, don't I look like Mr. Hip Hop?
Well, that was, I mean, I remember when I first met you with at a Serato function, and you and I are both, I guess, not so young. So it just, we were a little out of place, I guess. What was that like when you first started attending the hip hop functions and going to the stores and trying to sell those guys? What was that like?
Well, let me preface that with kind of one of my first introductions to a major artist. So I'm sitting in my office and I get a phone call, and it's some guy named Grandmaster Flash. And So I start talking to him, and I have no idea who he is. And Flash says, I've tried one of your mixers. I really like it. And this was after we had our first scratch oriented mixer. We had the TTM 54 was our first mixer in that entry. And Flash says, I like this, but there are a couple of things I'd like to do, and maybe you could modify one for me, and we could try it out and see where this goes. And so I said, great. I said, before we get started, can you send me your bio? And I get a long pause, and Flash says, okay. And he sends me his bio. And when I hung up, I mentioned to a few other people in the office, and they go, what? You don't know who Flash is? A, and B, you asked him for his bio? And he did. He sent me his bio. And Flash and I have had a number of conversations out of that, over the years. It's been fun. So I was totally not in that scene at all. I wasn't familiar with the music, and I've come to have a great respect for DJs and their ability to produce new music out of samples. And so from a respect standpoint, it was easy for me to get involved because I appreciated what they were doing. I've always been a big music fan. I just have no talent to produce my own music. But yeah, I would show up at events, and people would look me over and kind of wonder what I was doing there. And I was a big hero to my kids. I think, at the time we got started, I had kids that were in their late teens. And I remember taking my daughter to the Anger Management Tour, which was, headlined by Eminem, and the Executioners were an opening act. And, we were working with them and trying to get them to support our mixers. And my daughter still talks fondly about sitting on the Executioners bus with her dad.
That's so cool.
Being inducted as a Zulu by Africa Bambaataa.
That's nice. Yeah,
I've got my Zulu beads.
I remember I remember seeing you rocking some like custom Nikes or something. Was that right?
Yeah, Nike was working on their 25th anniversary for the Air Force Ones, and the hip hop guys tended to be more Adidas oriented than Nike oriented. Nike wanted to push into that. And we'd already worked with Serato. We had the Scratch Live product on the market. We had a good following of hip hop artists. And so they wanted to do something to get visible to the hip hop artists. So we worked together and we created a limited edition package of the SL1 interface. And we produced a run in white with the Nike Air Force One logo on them, and the Rane logo and the Serato logo, and some custom white vinyl. And Nike produced some Air Force Ones that had the Serato logo on them. And we put together these packages and we seeded them to about 100 top DJs around the world. And that was a lot of fun to be able to work with Nike on something like that.
Yeah, and Rane really dug in deep with the whole hip hop scene and I'm having a brain fart. I can't remember her name, but she was your CEO or president.
Linda Arink was one of the company founders, owners, and she was our CFO.
Okay, she was taking hip hop lessons, right?
She took hip hop lessons. She actually hurt herself in her hip hop lessons.
Yeah, I remember she was telling me, and then I think she messed up her arm or her shoulder.
I think it was her shoulder. Yeah.
So yeah, no, it was it was interesting. It was fun times. So
I took my wife to one of the DMC final competitions in London,
oh wow.
And they had some workshops on the side. So I I coerced the guys in the workshops. One of them was doing a beatboxing workshop, and they called her up front and had her beatboxing.
Oh, that's cool.
And then a couple of DJs tried to teach her to scratch. So I embarrassed her too and put her on the spot. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. The involvement with the whole community, that was the thing that, and I missed that. I loved being part of that community. It's a great community. I met some incredible people. Tony Prince, who founded DMC, DMC originally stood for Disco Mix Club, and he started these international DJ competitions. And Tony was one of the pirate DJs. He actually worked on Radio Caroline, one of the pirate DJ ships off the coast of the UK, and went from there to Radio Luxembourg. So he's a fascinating guy in his own right.
So for people who don't know about the pirate radio, it was because of the laws regarding radio stations and transmission and permits and stuff. If I got this right, people would outfit a boat with a radio transmitter and the gear, and then take it out, what, Pat, 2 miles out or something?
Yeah, into international waters. This was in the UK was probably one of the biggest issues, where all broadcasting was controlled by the government. So a lot of rock and roll couldn't be played at all on the air. And so these pirate stations were started so that they could broadcast the music the kids wanted to hear.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
There have been movies made about it too.
Yeah. Well, you know what I mean? If there's a rule or a law, somebody's going to find a way around it, right? You know? So, you know, out of what you've done so far, I guess, what's your favorite memory? You know, something that every once in a while it just pops up and you're like, oh man, that was so cool. Anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I was able to attend some of the Red Bull freestyle DJ competitions, and I mean those were amazing. The DMC competitions are skill based, and so it's DJs showing their skills. The Red Bull competitions were more about working the crowd. So they were two very different approaches, both of them a lot of fun and very interesting. But, you know, seeing the difference in how a DJ could, you know, some DJ could take a stoic crowd and turn them into just a bumping audience. And that was a lot of fun. We co-designed a mixer with Grandmaster Flash, and we called it the Empath. And that was a name Flash came up with. And he liked the name Empath because it signified that the hardware had empathy with what the DJ needed to do. And the feature set was just based on a bunch of things that had been issues and problems in performances Flash had over the years. And so it was designed to take some of the pain out of what a DJ had to do. So we made sure that it had a universal voltage power supply so that no matter where in the world a DJ went, he could plug in and use his mixer. It had both a 3.5 millimeter and a 1/4 inch headphone jack on it, because Flash got very emphatic that there were times that he had lost the adapter for his headphones and couldn't plug his 3.5 millimeter headphone into the headphone jack for lack of a simple adapter. So we did a lot of things like that, some auto gain to help match up levels between different tracks. Anyway, we introduced it at the Plaza show in London. And Flash had always wanted to play at Ministry of Sound. And Ministry of Sound was really more house music and not hip hop. So, obviously they weren't, that was hard for him to get a booking there. So we had, Ministry of Sound was using Rane mixers. So I had contacts there on their technical staff. So I was able to coordinate with Ministry of Sound, and we were able to do a product launch for the Empath mixer at Ministry of Sound.
Wow, that's
So
cool.
that was a lot of fun because it was a great venue to introduce a new mixer in, but also at the same time, I got to get Flash into the club to play in a club he'd never been able to play in. That was fun. That was fun. So yeah, there've been a lot of things like that, and you meet. I mean, you and I met at Guitar Center had the had their Walk of Fame at the Hollywood store,
Yeah,
and you and I were both there when Guitar Center had their first DJ induction into that Walk of Fame,
yeah.
and so it was Grandmaster Flash. It was Grand Wizard Theodore, who's credited with inventing scratching. Although if you talk to Flash, there's some dispute there. And then also Grand Mixer DXT, and he was previously known as DST instead of DXT.
Oh,
Changes in later, but DXT was the first DJ on an album to go platinum. He recorded with Herbie Hancock on the Rocket album,
the Rocket. Yeah.
and really opened doors for DJs. And at his speech, Herbie Hancock gave a speech on behalf of DXT and said, if it wasn't for DXT, my music wouldn't have gone the direction that it went. And to have an artist of the caliber of Herbie Hancock credit a DJ with the direction of his music was pretty amazing.
Yeah, that was a really nice event. I've got some pictures from there that I'm going to see if I can throw on here, so people can see what we're talking about.
Yeah, I think there's I think somewhere there's a picture floating around of you and Theodore, Grand Wizard Theodore, and I.
Yeah,
It was kind of fun. And
those
of
guys were
course,
actually really nice.
oh, they were great people.
Yeah,
Biz Markie came out and emceed that.
yeah,
He's he's a big teddy bear. He's a lot of fun.
yeah.
Matter of fact, he hand carried a Biz Markie, a prototype Biz Markie doll to the event and gave that to me.
Oh, that's cool.
So that was fun. But yeah, and Guitar Center did have a lot of good events. You had a nice DJ competition
Yeah,
that we were involved with, and that was the nice thing with Rane, is that we were able to. We really looked at this more as a community, and I think one of the things that Rane let me do is get involved with all these different DJ events and functions. We had I think maybe one of the contributions we made was, in the past, DJs tended to put either mix on whatever mixer happened to be at the club they were going to. Most DJs didn't have writers. They'd just show up and whatever was there was there. And we really pushed for the concept that the DJ's mixer is his instrument, just like a guitar is the instrument of a guitar player, and really pioneered the idea of DJs taking their mixers with them on gigs because they could have it set up the way they wanted to. And prior to us at Rane doing that didn't happen.
yeah. No, it's true. I did some DJing around some clubs, and I had my own mobile and stuff. And most of the clubs I worked at, they were, I think there was the MP24, I believe, was like a real popular club mixer. And the faders were like butter. I just remember I wasn't a hip hop guy. I was more of a disco, party dance kind of guy. But they were really nice faders and just, you know, good quality stuff. And they wouldn't have been put into clubs if they would have broken down. So it goes to show that they not only sounded good, but they held up to some really ham-fisted DJs.
Well, and that was the MP24 was a club mixer, and that was the one that we developed with Richard Long, and that was the mixer that the DJs came to us and said, "Hey, we like how your mixers sound. We just need something that's in more our format."
Okay.
So then we went to more a scratch mixer format for future development. We still made club mixers too,
Yeah.
but the real community that we had was with the hip hop DJs.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun. We'd have DJs on tour stop at the factory and come visit us. And we did a co-branded mixer with Z Trip, which was a lot of fun. And but anytime we'd have DJs come to the factory, we built everything in Mukilteo, Washington, and that was a lot of fun. We'd have them come back. We developed a new fader that was non-contact. It was a magnetic fader, and held patents on that. And we built even the faders in-house. And we had this wonderful woman on the assembly line who was in her late 60s and still working, and just a sweetheart. And so somebody had come by, like Jazzy Jeff pulls up in his tour bus. He's on his way south from Vancouver, Canada, stops in at the factory with his tour bus, and we had him come in, and so we take Jeff back, and he made his own fader.
That's cool.
We're able to do that with a number of guys. So
I remember you guys had me make one for him. I made one of those.
Yeah. When you came up to visit, we had you make your own fader too.
Yeah, that was cool. So let's see. What's the craziest thing that's ever happened to you?
I don't know. I think it was just people seeing me at an event like Anger Management Tour, where I kind of didn't look like somebody that would fit in there. I'm wearing khakis and a button-down long sleeve Oxford or something. I never did try and really look hip hop, although along the way, I did collect. Flash sent me a bunch of Kangles, and so I've got a bunch of that. I've got a bunch of different color Kangol hats, and when we were doing the promo with Nike, Nike gave me a number of pairs of shoes. They let me go into one of their design center stores in Japan. And so I've got some black alligator Air Force Ones and some brown alligator ones. I've got a pair of red Bobito high tops. And I also Cash Money had some Adidases made. So I've got these money green Adidases with Cash Money and money logos on them. And I have a Kangol that matches that. So sometimes I'd show up in an event wearing like my Cash Money sneakers and a Kangol to match.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember seeing you, rocking the hip hop gear once in a while.
So that was, that was fun. I mean, I kind of enjoyed being out of context. But got to meet just a lot of great people. There's a DJ out of Montreal named Kid Koala, and Eric Kid Koala looked like he was 14 years old, and just this little baby face. And he did some amazing routines where he created brand new music just out of samples. So did a routine called the Drunken Trumpet, where he bends the sound of a trumpet, but it's all done with records. Or watching Z Trip do a set using all 45s and just little short snips from 45s, and just creating brand new music that had really nothing. All he was doing was taking some notes off the the records. And those were just amazing to me to watch that skill. And I don't think most people appreciate the musicality that kind of DJ has to have to be able to create music. It's not like, and no offense to your former DJ career, but it's not playing records in a club. It's
Yeah.
not sitting down and playing tracks. Now you do have to do that. You do have to be able to read the crowd and to see how they're reacting to different kinds of music. And you've got to be good at making smooth transitions and blending them together. So you do have to have a skill set for that. But this skill that came out of hip hop, where they're making brand new music that really isn't related to the samples they're using at all, is just, it still is mind bending.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I've seen some of those guys that are just amazing with what they do with, you know, two pieces of vinyl and a mixer. Um, and it's funny because people tend to group DJs as one lump thing. You know, it's kind of like saying a guitar player. Well, you got rock guitarists, you got country guitarists, you got shredders, and DJs are kind of the same way. You know, you've got the hip hop guys, the party guys, the electro guys, and they're all different skill sets. Um, but you know, I've seen some of those guys with their routines, and my jaw just drops.
Yeah.
And it's like, I've never tried to be a scratch DJ. I just don't have. I don't. I don't know. I grew up with the disco stuff, so. But man, what they can do is amazing.
And that's that's what's fun. I mean, it gave me an appreciation for a genre of music that I hadn't really been exposed to. I mean, the disco era stuff, yes, but hip hop was a brand new thing to me, and it was fun to be involved in that, and to get to know all these great people. I mean, it. I'll give you a little oh wow moment. It's short, but so on Christmas morning one year, I got a text from Jeff Towns from DJ Jazzy Jeff saying, "Hey Dean, Merry Christmas. Just thinking about you. Hope you're having a great day."
Oh, that's cool.
Or Rob Swift, who was with the Executioners. Um, Rob went off on his own, and I reached out to him and said, "Hey Rob, we've worked with you with the X-Men. I just want you to know that we're the door's open. We want to keep working with you. We like our association." And I get an email back from him, and he says, "This has been the greatest day of my life. Bob James just reached out to me, Bob James, the jazz musician,
Yeah.
and wants me to work on an album with him. And now I get a note from you."
Oh, that's awesome. That is so cool. Yeah, you know what? Great. It's a great scene, great community, and a lot of really nice people. I've met some really nice people, and I plan to have some of those guys on here as well. You know, kind of mix this up and get a little bit of everything in here. So let's see. What are you doing now? What do you got going?
Well, Atlas Sound, Atlas IED, manufactures commercial audio equipment. So I don't have the connections with the artists anymore. I mean, other than my friends that I made through the industry, but as far as on a working relationship, we do everything from all the paging and voice evac systems for airports and convention centers, and to background music and paging systems for your local Starbucks. And we've been primarily focused in the US market, and I was hired to help develop our international markets.
All right.
So it's been fun because, again, I like building things. I got to build a new market for Rane. Now I get to build a new market for Atlas and get us established in. It's a little harder with commercial audio products, than it is with a passion product like a DJ mixer was. But it's still fun. It's still challenging, and we're making great headway. We build good products, and I work for great people. The thing that makes it similar is that it's family owned,
Oh,
which is, and Rane was privately and family owned. So that makes it fun. I really like the people I work for, and we've got a great fit. And it's nice to have that association rather than just being a another cog in the wheel.
yeah. And I'm sure your hip hop friends, once trade shows get going again, they'll stop by, and I'm sure they'll want to say hi. You can't forget Dean.
Yeah, it's been a good ride, and I would say that was my years with DJ and hip hop. I missed that way more than I ever would have thought I would. That again, it's the people.
Yeah,
It's the people that made that a fun gig.
yeah. That's one of the great things about the MI industry. There are so many great, giving, and just nice people. Um, I really love this industry because of that. Work is work, so sometimes that sucks. But the people you meet and the friends that you make is something that always goes with you. And if you kind of step outside a little bit, you start missing them.
Yeah.
And you want to keep in touch. And I mean, I'm sure you've got friends that you made 25 years ago that you still talk to every once in a while. And
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Well, I mean, you and I met because of Rane, and I won't share any of the embarrassing stories that happened in your office, but
oh, if those walls could talk. But so um, with so much experience under your belt, what advice would you give to someone who wants to get into the MI business?
find a segment of it that you're passionate about. Technical knowledge is good. It's good to have that. It's good to have an understanding. I've got an associate degree in electronics, so I at least understand what's going on with some of the gear. But the thing that made a difference, nobody really cared what I knew, but it was really more about the passion for the industry and caring about the products and really caring about people. If what you're looking for is finding solutions that help people do what they love doing better, then you're going to be successful in any field. And I think that applies to anything, whether it's making the world's best ice cream, or making a better mousetrap, or being in any industry. If you care about what you're doing, if you love it, the rest of it will fall into place.
That's true. So let's see. Uh, with the whole COVID thing, you've probably got a little more time on your hands than you used to have.
Not really. I'm spending a lot of time doing training sessions online.
Oh, that's good.
We've done some new product introductions, um, and if anything, I'm getting lots more screen time than I've ever had before. The toughest thing is I miss the face-to-face interaction.
Yeah.
I've spent my career traveling 50% of the time. I've averaged being in 30, 35 countries a year.
Wow.
And my last trip was in early March or early February rather, to a trade show in Europe. And I haven't been on the road since. And so I even miss sitting on an airplane, because that was always my reading time
Yeah.
on these long international flights. That's where I got all my reading in. And so I do miss that, but I am able to stay connected with between Zoom and Skype and Microsoft Teams and instant messaging and everything else. You do keep in touch. I do keep in touch with people, and I'm probably spending as many hours a day working. Although some days I might be up early to talk to Europe, and then I might have a break in the afternoon, and then in the evening I'm on the phone with Asia Pacific.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, they're keeping you busy. What about hobbies? And I know you used to ride motorcycles, or you still ride motorcycles. What do you do in your
I
spare time?
Well, I've been banned for life from motorcycles. A couple of years ago, I put my BMW road bike into a wall, and I broke a couple of ribs and crushed my right leg. I broke both bones between my knee and my ankle in multiple places. So I've got plates and rods and screws holding that all together. So I'm lucky that I'm not limping. I'm able to get around. Everything healed up fine. But my wife said, "Yeah, I think you're done."
Wow. Yeah.
You know, so I went out and I took the insurance money. I had a couple of bikes. I had a street bike and a dual sport on off road bike. The street bike was totaled. The on off road bike got sold. I took the combined money and I went out and bought a little MX-5 convertible.
Oh, nice.
So that's how I get the wind through my hair now is going out in my little rag top.
Nice. Let's see. One of my favorite things before this whole COVID thing was I like to go to restaurants. So, what good restaurants can you recommend in your area?
We have a great Mexican place, and which is called, I'm in Salt Lake now. We have
Okay.
a great Mexican place called Red Iguana. That's fabulous. Got a really nice fish place called Market Street Grill. Found a nice lobster sandwich at a place called Slapfish. They call it a clobster. It's a grilled cheese and lobster sandwich, and that's pretty nice.
Huh.
And I've found some great little places like up in yeah, there's a Silver Fork Lodge up in Little Cottonwood Canyon on the way to one of the ski resorts, and found a few places like that. I do miss all the fresh seafood in Seattle
Yeah.
from all my years there. We had some fabulous seafood places there.
Okay. Yeah, I think one of the things I'm going to try to do with this podcast is I'm going to ask the guest about restaurants. That way, when everybody finally gets to travel again and they're out on the road, they can look up a good place to go, or even if they can do it now and help the restaurants kind of, keep their mojo going.
We've been trying to do take out from some of the restaurants that have been able to stay open, just to
Help out.
help support that. Plus my wife's a fabulous cook, but she needs a break from that too.
Yeah.
And she's in the middle of the COVID thing. She's a nurse,
Ooh.
so she's in the middle of it. She spent quite a bit of time when the hotlines first opened up, working the hotlines and helping to screen people.
Let's see. How about music? What are you listening to now? Like, who's your all-time favorite artist, and what's been on your playlist lately?
I listen to a lot of jazz and rock and roll. I like some of the classic stuff. Fleetwood Mac has always been one of my favorite bands. As a matter of fact, my kids grew up listening to a whole broad diversity of stuff, and I used to find my CDs and albums would disappear because the kids would take them. And my daughter's favorite group is Fleetwood Mac. So her ringtone is a live track from Stevie Nicks where she opens up saying, "This is for you, Daddy,"
Oh,
and then goes into Landslide. And so that's my ringtone for my daughter is when I hear "This is for you, Daddy."
that's cool.
So that's fun. But I still listen to a variety of different stuff. I'll go on and listen to some of Jeff Towns, Jazzy Jeff's playlists online. I've got some playlists. Theodore made me a playlist. Jazzy Jay.
I like that guy.
Oh, Jay calls me all the time, and and we'll talk. And he's sent me some playlists, so I still listen to a bunch of different things.
Very cool. And I guess one last question, and this one's a little strange, but living in Seattle, in Washington, have you ever seen a UFO?
I have not personally.
Okay. It just, you know, it's one of those things that just, I'm always looking up because you never know.
Yeah.
And I know, you know, a lot of reports and sightings over there. So just curious, I guess.
I've actually got a better view of the sky here
In Utah?
in Utah than I did in Seattle because I'm about I'm outside the city. I'm up in the foothills in the kind of the southwest corner of the Salt Lake Valley. So I'm about 1,000 feet above the valley floor.
Oh, wow.
And and it's much drier here than in Seattle. So clear skies. My wife and I will sit out on the back deck at night, and we can actually see the stars.
Oh, nice.
So that's nice.
All right. Dean, thank you so much. It's great catching up with you. Thank you for the stories. And, you know, to me, you're still one of the most interesting people in MI. And I want to thank you and, you know, hope to see you soon.
I hope to see you too, JC. We've got to go out and find a nice restaurant.
Sounds like a good plan.
All right. Take care.
Right.
Thanks, JC.
All right. Hope that you enjoy the show, and don't forget to hit the like and subscribe. And if you're the kind of person who likes visuals, check out our YouTube channel. It's MIMIP, or MI's Most Interesting People.